Number 8. Ramzan Kavakalan. In January of 2016, a Turkish trucker gunned down his friend following a prank that involved a lemon, of which the former reportedly had a phobia. The incident happened at a timber yard in Izmir on the Aegean coast, and the shooter was only identified by his initials as M.O. 42-year-old Ramzan Kavakalan knew of M.O.'s fear, but decided to prank him with the citrus fruit. Sufferers of leminophobia, a branch of the general fear of food anxiety disorder called cyberphobia, are typically advised to avoid contact with the fruit itself, as like other phobias, it can cause panic attacks and related symptoms. Believing it would be perceived as a harmless joke, Kavakalan showed the lemon to M.O., who worked as a trucker at the same timber yard, as he was collecting wood products from transport. After the initial reaction of shock, the man became enraged by the prank and went to retrieve a rifle, which he kept for protection from the cabin of his truck. M.O. then walked back into the office where Kavakalan was sitting at his desk and shot him with a single bullet. The victim was rushed to the emergency room at Torbali State Hospital, where doctors battled for several hours to save his life. Unfortunately, he ultimately succumbed to the gunshot wound. After initially fleeing from the scene of the crime, M.O. handed himself into the Turkish gendarmerie in Manisa province and was charged with murder. He told the authorities that he'd only meant to scare Kavakalan in retaliation to the joke. M.O. was quoted as saying, "I am so sorry that I have killed my friend. It is the lemon, you see. I cannot stand the sight of them. They make me crazy." Number 7. Ireland Baldwin. In early 2022, fashion model Ireland Baldwin, daughter of 3-time Golden Globe winner Alec Baldwin and Academy Award winner Kim Basinger, openly talked on social media about her phobia of suffering a heart attack. Baldwin revealed to her Instagram followers that she constantly used a blood pressure monitor as a way of dealing with her cardiophobia, an anxiety disorder characterized by complaints of chest pain and heart palpitations that are accompanied by fears of dying from a heart attack. The 26-year-old model detailed that while experiencing the symptoms commonly associated with anxiety attacks, she had become convinced that she was on the verge of succumbing to an underlying heart condition. She noted that her fear was entirely rooted in anxiety, as she didn't have an illness and didn't take any medication, while also commenting on the utmost comfort that the monitor brought her. In the past, Baldwin's attacks had reportedly been so severe that she called ambulances to take her to the hospital for doctors to reassure her that her heart was not in imminent danger. The model, who in 2015 spent time in rehab to overcome emotional trauma, reported that her cardiophobia-related attacks could be triggered by a variety of items and circumstances, including certain foods, crowds, or airplanes. Number 6. Samantha Hancocks. In May of 2010, an elderly couple from Tipton, West Midlands, England, were arrested on suspicion of manslaughter following the death of their 40-year-old daughter. Samantha Hancocks was found dead in an armchair at the home she shared with her parents, Ken and Marion Hancocks, both in their late 70s. Hancocks had barely left the residence in 18 years for fear of coming into contact with germs. The former law student, who also suffered from acute obsessive-compulsive disorder, had self-cleansing rituals that reportedly took her up to 20 hours every day. She wore socks on her hands that she scrubbed constantly and would shower for hours on end. As reported by her parents, everything had to be wrapped up in the house and they'd have to change their clothes if they went out, with Hancock sometimes insisting they burn them. She had first started worrying about germs when she was 10 years old, after her grandmother had died in a hospital. By her late teens, the phobia had essentially taken over Hancock's life, leading to her dropping out of college and becoming unable to hold a job. Her condition worsened in April of 2010 after her father went to the hospital for a prostate operation. Hancocks was so terrified that he'd bring back germs that she'd stopped eating or drinking, and as described by Marion, she became just skin and bone. An autopsy ruled that her cause of death had been dehydration and a skin infection. Ken and Marion were interviewed for 7 hours in the aftermath of their daughter's passing, but subsequent reports indicated that the charges against them were eventually dropped. They later criticized what they felt had been a lack of help from the country's mental health and social services, noting that psychiatrists would come to the house to assess their daughter and that she'd been occasionally hospitalized, but adding that nothing was ever done to really help her. Number 5. Katie Sims. 32-year-old Katie Sims was found dead in the living room of her home in Kettering, Northamptonshire, England, on September the 28th of 2020. The harrowing discovery was made by the woman's young son, Archie, but her death wasn't treated as suspicious. Sims had been battling agoraphobia, which is described as a fear of going outside the home, and her condition had reportedly worsened under the circumstances of the pandemic lockdown. According to the Sims' brother, David, she was once an outgoing person who loved to socialize, but she'd been severely affected by the passing of their older brother, 40-year-old Barry Gunn, in 2015. He'd been suffering from PTSD after serving in the army with the Royal Anglian Regiment in Sierra Leone. He took his own life, and in the aftermath, Sims developed a fear of leaving her home. David believed that the lockdown broke her, as the woman was no longer able to be visited by her parents. Sims's mother suffered from breathing difficulties, and they didn't want to risk her catching the virus, while her father was unable to travel after being diagnosed with bowel cancer and developing a tumor. Commenting on the severe depression that ultimately became the catalyst of his sister's self-inflicted death, David told a media outlet, "We couldn't help her as best we could. It feels like we failed." Number 4. Stuart Gilray. A father of 2 from Aberdeen, Scotland, passed away in early January of 2022 due to complications related to COVID-19. Stuart Gilray was the founder and CEO of video game developing company Just Add Water Limited, best known for their work on the Oddworld series. 51-year-old Gilroy was hospitalized on December the 20th of 2021 after experiencing breathing difficulties and other debilitating symptoms associated with the virus. He was placed on oxygen support and later uploaded a photo on social media with a cannula in his hand, re-emphasizing his fear and hatred of needles. Gilroy's condition deteriorated drastically, and he was eventually put into a medically induced coma from which he never recovered. His friends, many of whom were part of the game developing industry, took to social media to express their condolences. In the wake of Gilray's passing, his grieving widow spoke to a media outlet and urged members of the public to overcome their fears and get vaccinated. She revealed that due to a severe phobia of needles, a condition known as trypanophobia, her late husband had only had 1 blood test in 25 years. It was due to that same fear that he'd reportedly avoided getting a COVID-19 vaccine, which could have improved his chances of surviving the virus. Number 3. Jade Youngman. 25-year-old Jade Youngman from Norwich, England, revealed in 2019 that she feared losing her vision due to a food phobia that had severely deprived her body of essential nutrients. Since the age of 3, Youngman had been living on a diet of pizza, plain pasta, chicken nuggets and fries. She was diagnosed with avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, or ARFID, that caused her to suffer a viscerally negative reaction and consequent phobia of most foods. The impact that the disorder had had on her mental health also included a constant fear and worry if the food she was able to stomach would be available come mealtime. Because of her condition, Youngman hadn't had any fruits or vegetables in over 2 decades and compared having to ingest them to someone placing a plate of dog excrement in front of her and saying, "Eat that." Youngman revealed that she tried to push through her repulsion but was unsuccessful, and she'd begin to retch and gag. The woman's concerns regarding her future health stemmed from 2 cases of teenagers who'd gone blind because of ARFID after developing a condition called nutritional optic neuropathy. It's a slow and painless process of vision decay after fibers in the optic nerve become damaged due to a lack of vitamins, such as those in the B category, which are typically found in whole foods and leafy greens. A 19-year-old from Bristol, who'd lived on French fries his whole life, was forced to drop out of college after losing his vision because of the condition. 18-year-old Harvey Dyer from Gloucester suddenly went blind in his left eye in October of 2018, and the optic neuropathy had been connected to his restrictive diet of chocolate, chips, and fries. Today's topic was requested by Instagram followers Kai Oliver and Kiz. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below, or follow us on Instagram and reach out to us there. Number 2. Xiao Qian. In early 2018, a news report out of China detailed how a woman only identified through her nickname as Xiao Qian struggled to live a normal life due to a crippling fear of balloons. Because of the condition called globophobia. Qian spent all of her spare time at home so that she'd avoid seeing a balloon in the street. The woman, who worked at an education center in Shenzhen, Guangdong province, had first experienced symptoms in 2015. A colleague had reportedly popped a balloon behind her, which caused her body to twitch uncontrollably. She was rushed to the hospital, but doctors couldn't identify the disease she had. As reported by the Shenzhen television broadcast, it was only after 5 similar reactions under circumstances in which balloons had been involved that globophobia was revealed to have been the triggering factor. Qian's psychiatrist, Dr. Wang Liufeng, determined that the phobia was causing neurosis, a disturbance in the woman's nerves. The recommended course of action was medication, accompanied by psychological treatment, which her employer reportedly agreed to cover. Dr. Wang was keen on helping Qian recover, arguing that her fear of seeing balloons has already exceeded the danger that any balloons could do harm to her. Number 1. Jade Milner. 24-year-old Jade Milner from Barnsley, England, accidentally took a lethal dose of fentanyl in June of 2018 while trying to stave off the pain of a tooth abscess from which he'd been suffering for several years. Milner, a promising soccer player, reportedly suffered from a severe fear of dentists, also known as odontophobia or dentophobia. According to his father, he'd go on antibiotics to temporarily deal with the abscess, but categorically refused to see a specialist. It was only after Milner's death that his father learned he'd been self-medicating with chewable fentanyl patches to deal with the worsening pain. Fentanyl is an extremely powerful opioid that can be up to 100 times more potent than morphine and consequently much more dangerous. Analogues such as carfentanil can be up to 10,000 times stronger than morphine and are typically used in tranquilizer darts against bears, elephants, and other large animals. Developed in the 1950s, fentanyl was initially used to manage pain in cancer patients before gaining popularity among recreational drug users because of its potency. In Milner's case, given his phobia, doctors recorded a verdict of accidental death. More than 1,000 people were reported to have attended the popular sportsman's funeral, which was dubbed J-Fest. Thanks for watching. Starting tomorrow, would you rather be completely fearless but also incapable of recognizing dangerous situations, or have 5 random phobias? Let us know in the comments section below.